Okay. All right. So you can be seated if you'd like. It was interesting. I had two sessions this morning, and I came back to my room. I usually sit down because, I'm tired. And luckily, I can walk in a circle through the changing room and to the bedroom and the living room. And I'm like, wow, where's this energy coming from? I'm just kind of pacing back and forth. And I knew usually it's a signal for me that something is arising out of the state of consciousness, but I move through it, which is very interesting. And what occurred to me was that there is such a power, two forces of power here, the power of presence, and then a power that is the unconscious realm. And then, of course, you go deeper into stillness, and you realize there's only one true power, and that is the power of presence. The unconscious power is a thought. It arises from the mind. And then we were sent the observation notes from the small groups. And of course, there was one that really struck my heart because I have dealt with it for many, many years, including to this moment right now. And it just hits you. And that was somebody had spoke about experiencing racism. And how do you stop other people putting that on you? And they have children, and how do you stop that? And it was interesting because before I read that, what was coming through was those two powerful forces, the power of presence and then the unconscious power. To realize that there is really only one true power, yet we know that this so-called, let's call it false power, that seems very powerful, the power of negativity that resides in this world. But this is what we're doing here. We're awakening from that unconsciousness to consciousness so that we can raise the vibration on this planet and bring about an awakening. And we can't say that it'll happen tomorrow. We can't say that it'll happen in 20 or 100 years. But we are part of the universal consciousness, this consciousness which in our own minds as these human beings, we are really unable to even comprehend what's happening here and how this awakening process will happen and when human consciousness will fully awaken and how that will be. But this racism, it's really interesting because not so long ago, we had an event and I was watching this Black spiritual speaker speak, and she told of her story of, I can't remember where it was, but she went somewhere where it was a church and you receive healing, right? And she realized that she needed healing, and what she needed healing from was the fact that she had experienced this racism. But what she realized in herself was that she hated white people because of what she had experienced. And when she said that, it touched me because I also knew deep down that there was this hate of white people. and I'm spiritual. Huh. So after it was over, I just was backstage and I just started to weep. And I realized that I wasn't only weeping from my own experience of the racism, but on this planet, in this world, how much racism there is. And it's not only racism, but it's just hate, and how racism can create even hatred. And I had to confess to myself, and I also confessed to a colleague, somebody who was backstage. Oh, I have to go back and tell you something, because in this experience, this woman telling the story of receiving this healing, after she went up to confess what it was, she had all these white people come up to her and say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you experienced this. So here I am backstage, and I'm confessing that I not only hate white people, but I hate Chinese people, and I'm Chinese. And I hate spiritual people because I felt hurt by some spiritual people. And there was just this anger. It wasn't really anger, but I know it was anger, but it wasn't. It was just this complete sadness. And I'm confessing this to a white person. And then I'm like, a thought comes in. Why isn't she saying sorry to me? Am I not going to receive a healing? Because now I've confessed I'm not going to receive a healing? I went, damn. And then, of course, I go into stillness and I realize, okay, everybody's healing is going to be different. What she experienced in the healing may not be my own. So what is it here that I have to do? And that was simply to go into stillness. Still no white person has said sorry, and that's okay. Because really, I really have to say sorry to myself, because I hated myself all these years as well. Hated myself. I hated myself for being Chinese, for being different. I hated myself because other people hated me. So this planet, not only the planets, but the human beings on this planet, this is what we are needing in ourselves, is a healing. But your healing may be different and come about in a different way than somebody else's who tells the story. But we tell the story. There are people out there who will understand, who will love you for you. And it's a matter of finding that love inside of us before we can even receive love from somebody else. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to believe when somebody else loves you. You won't. You'll make up some sort of excuse. Oh, it can't be true. You know, they don't love me. I mean, it's impossible. I'm not worthy of it. It's sad. So we not only experience our own sadness, but we experience the sadness that is just plain unconscious behavior. There's a passage in the Bible that says, the sins of the father shall be passed down from generation to generation. And that's what's happening here. So it's not just our own, and sometimes we think it's our own. But even when we do our own healing within ourselves, we still have that responsibility and that service to help then heal others, help heal the planet, help heal the humans. And it's a lot of work. Just a lot of work. And it's easy to numb ourselves, and there's devices readily available to numb ourselves, so we don't have to experience that. do the work in ourselves or do the work for others, and that is holding the frequency, the conscious frequency. So, there has been a big, strong movement that has happened in my lifetime anyways, where there has been the overt racism to that changing, and a lot of things have changed. And you black people and white people and all colors know those changes that have happened. And then, of course, it became this sort of in thing that you can't be racist and you can't show your racism. So it went from overt to being covert racism. And now there's a movement, which I have seen and on the internet, where people are saying, I just want to be able to say what I want to say. So there's another wave of this movement. And my feeling is it won't go as far back as it did before, the racism, but there's still this now overt movement that's happening to be able to just to speak your mind. It's nice to be able to speak our minds, but at some point, wow, we all know what that could feel like when, or maybe you don't all know what that can feel like when you've been bullied, teased, for whatever reason that is. It doesn't matter whether you're black, yellow, green, blue. It could be because of your weight. It could be because of something else. But how in ourselves, as we awaken, can we dissolve that pain body of hatred, of unconscious behaviors and thoughts that we can have?